Hi all, this is one of my own games here. I played this one last Wednesday at the chess club, and I was playing with white, and my opponent chose the Nimzo Indian defense with bishop b4, and I chose to play f3 here, which is, well, actually not very common to play this. Normally first with white you play a3, and after bishop takes e3, b takes e3, then f3 is played to prepare e4, but it's also possible to play right now. He played d5, preventing a future, or trying to prevent a future e4. I played a3, take on c3, take on c3, castles, and here I played a move that is actually not in the books. I just figured this out while I was playing, that I want to do something against him taking on c4, and normally here e3 is played to recapture on c4 with the bishop, but I wanted to wait with this moving my e-pawn to see if I later could play to e4 at once. So what I did is I played queen to d3. He continued with b6. Then I took on d5, and here he played his first mistake, let's say. He took with the knight here. It's stronger here to take with the pawn, because then you, with black, you keep fighting for this e4 square and controlling also the c4 square. So maybe the reason for my opponent to play knight takes d5 is this idea that then the long diagonal here stays open, but the bad thing about this move is that he gives away the center completely. So now with e4 I get control of the center. Knight to e7. I moved my queen to c2 to be able to develop my bishop to d3. Bishop b7 was played, bishop d3. h6 is an unnecessary weakening of the structure of the pawns on the king side. So h6 was not a very good one, I think. Knight to e2, knight d7. Now I castled. He played c5, so at last now he's trying to attack my center. I played bishop to e3, rook c8. He's developing, and he has now a small threat, threatening to advance this pawn to c4. So I played queen to d2, putting these two pieces, bishop and queen, on the same diagonal towards this pawn on h6. Knight g6 was played, and here I played knight to g3 with the idea of preventing counterplay. His way of getting some counterplay would be to advance the f-pawn maybe. So what I wanted to do with knight on g3 is have more pressure, more control actually on this f5 square. Now c takes d4, c takes d4, and here he played a move that at the moment when he played it, I didn't understand it. Queen to h4. Now the Fritz engine that I'm using to analyze my games actually gives queen h4 is one of the moves that it says that is a good move, but personally I don't really like it. I don't really understand the meaning of it. Fritz thinks here that the best move is playing e5 immediately, and if d5 is played, then black has the c5 square for the knight and then gains a little more space. But of course the position is still better for white because of this beautiful pass pawn on the d file. But anyway, let's go back to the game, because my opponent played here queen to h4. I played f4. Now my plan was to advance the f-pawn to f5 and open these diagonals towards his king. Queen e7, f5, e takes f5, knight takes f5, attacking the queen. and now my position is really superior, because I have these two beautiful center pawns here. Later my knight will get a beautiful square here on d6, where it will be very strong, and also I have possibilities of attacking the king directly here on h6 and g7 because of this weakened pawn structure of black. He went with the queen to d8 and I played knight to d6. At this point of the game I was constantly also trying to calculate the possibilities of sacrificing on h6, but I didn't find any clear way to do this sacrifice and decide the game immediately. So I chose for this more safe way of keeping the control of the game. Bishop d5 was played. Here I played rook f2 with the idea of doubling up my rooks on the f-file. Knight h4, and this was one of the moments where actually I could have played bishop takes h6, but I didn't see it, I didn't calculate it completely. I actually played immediately the automatic move rook to f1, but if we look now at bishop takes h6, we see that if black would take here, then of course queen takes h6 wins, because I'm threatening to give checkmate on h7, and the whole defense of the black king is gone. So that means that black would not take here, but would have to play something like f6 here to try to defend. But still, then the attack would be very strong by, for example, a second sacrifice here. Bishop takes g7, and if then king takes g7, then I can take on f6 and opening this whole defense of the black king. But in the game I chose for, in this position, not to sacrifice on h6 but to play rook to f1, still keeping everything under control, staying with this advantage that I have. He played f5 here. I took the pawn, he took back, and then I took with bishop. Queen went to e7, and here I decided to simplify the position. This has maybe to do with my style of play. Many other players would maybe here decide to take on h6, sacrifice and try to win the game in a short way, but I decided not to take any risk. Queen to b4, the queens are exchanged, and then rook to e8, bishop to g6, rook e7, rook c2, simplifying even more, with the idea that the endgame will be better for me because of these two connected passed pawns in the center. Rook f7, and also this rook is exchanged, and now king f2, bringing my king to the center. And the rest is actually just a matter of technique. I play g4, knight to b8. This knight is going to c6, and if I look at my position, these two pawns can be weak, so that means that I need to defend those, because this knight is going to c6 to attack both pawns there. So I played my bishop to d2, knight to c6, now king e3. Both pawns are defended, and later I can play my bishop to c3, where it will defend both pawns, so my king will be free to move to another parts of the boards. Knight to e7, now h4. My plan is here to later try to fix these pawns here, so either exchange them or fix them, so a new weakness will be made there for black, and that's actually what happened in the game. King f4, knight c6 again, check here, king goes away, and then bishop to c3, defending the two weak pawns of white. Knight goes to d8, now bishop d3 attacking b5, that's defended, and then I want to exchange this light square bishop. The only thing in this kind of endgames that I have to be careful of I must not exchange my light square bishop for his knight, because then we will have opposite colored bishops, and then the draw chances are big. He try to avoid the exchange here, and now I advance my pawns. So these two connected pawns in the center become very, very strong. He played g6, now I play g5 and h5. So now I have achieved this part of the plan, that these pawns now here are fixed. They cannot move anymore, and that means that g6 is going to be a weak pawn forever. And he has no chance of attacking my h4 pawn. So now the position is even better for me than it was before. I advanced here e6. The bishop goes to e8 because he has to stay defending this g6 pawn, and then the last move of the game is bishop to f6 check. Because now if the king moves, then the knight will fall, and then it's all over.